channel, Joyful Jessie. If you are new here, I am Jessie. In today's video, I am going to be showing you yet another way to use a plantain. And in this case, it's going to be a ripe plantains, and we are going to be using them to make canoas. In other words, yummy plantain canoes. So make sure to stick around and watch. Actually a very common fruit in Puerto Rico. It grows everywhere in the island, and we have found so many different ways in how to make and cook and bake with this particular fruit. If you're interested in one of the ways that we use this fruit when it's green, we use it to make tostones. Make sure to go ahead and check that video. I do have a video on a very easy way to make tostones. We've also, once they're ripe, we make something called maduros, where we just fry them. And I also have another video showing you how is it that I make those. We don't just use them for tostones and maduros. And we use them to make pastelón, which is like a Puerto Rican lasagna. We use them to make piononos, which we make piononos while they are nice and ripe. Use them to make the canoes, which is what I'm going to make today, and so many other things. So I'm thinking that maybe as time goes by, I'm going to make a video on every possible way that we bake, cook, fry, do whatever with plantains, since we're in that street. Today I'm going to show you how to make canoes. There's my little one right there. Photo bombing or video bombing my shot. But anyways, today I'm simply going to show you how is it that I'm going to make these canoas out of these ripe plantains, which is simply called canoas, which means canoes, because of the way that they are shaped and how they come out. These canoes are stuffed with savory meat, picadillo, which I will show you how to make, and topped with some delicious cheese, which, I mean, who doesn't love meat and cheese? And then toss it all in a nice sweet shell. It is the perfect combination of sweet and savory all in one. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so first off, we are going to be making our picadillo. And for our picadillo, the picadillo is the meat that we're going to be stuffing our plantains with. We're going to be using about 1 pound of ground meat, possibly about 1 teaspoon of adobo. Later on, we'll taste it and see if it needs a little bit more, but we're just going to call it about 1 teaspoon of adobo. We're going to be using about half of the can of the tomato sauce. We're going to be using some olives, manzanilla olives, and I'm just going to be slicing them because I have the whole ones. You can already buy them pre-sliced, but I'm just going to be slicing them myself, and you can put according to your taste, however much olives you like. If you don't like olives, go ahead and omit them altogether. You don't have to have that in there. I personally like them. That's the only reason why I use them. And I would say about 1 tablespoon of sofrito. If you would like to see how is it that I make my sofrito, make sure to go ahead and check that out on the link above. I do have a quick and easy, under 10 minutes way of how to make my homemade sofrito. That's what we are going to need for the meat. Now, for everything else, we're going to need some vegetable oil or canola oil, whatever you prefer to fry in, to fry our plantains. I like to use the eggs on the top of the meat. You are going to be needing some cheese, however much cheese you enjoy on this. I personally like the cheddar cheese, but I didn't have that at home, so I'm simply using some people call it Fiesta blend, Mexican blend. That's the one I'm going to be using for this. And we are going to be needing some yellow plantains. I've had these plantains in my house sitting for, I would say, about a week and a half or so. I initially bought these because I wanted to make some jibaritos, which is a form of sandwich where we fried the plantains, but with working and everything, I didn't have time to put that together, and by the time I was going to use them, it was a little bit too late, so I let them sit a little bit longer, and now I'm going to be using them. They're not as ripe as the maduros were. Remember when I made my video on how to make maduros, these are not that ripe. The other ones I had had for maybe like 3 weeks or so. These are nice and soft and smooth, but they're still very solid. So if you want them to be a little bit sweeter, you can leave them a little bit longer and they will get much more sweeter and much more softer. But for the purpose of this, I want them to be a little bit more, have a little bit more consistency to them and not fall apart for me. We're first going to start by cooking our meat and making our picadillo. We're going to place it in a pan along with 1 teaspoon of adobo, 1 tablespoon of sofrito, and we're going to mix all those flavors in together. We're then going to add our olives. I used about, I would say maybe 2 tablespoons of olives and half a can of the tomato sauce. Then we're going to let it simmer in there, I'd say for about 10 minutes on low once the meat is cooked, just to give it that really nice taste. Then I'm going to come over and I'm going to peel my plantains. I'm going to start by cutting off the corners, and then with the tip of my knife, I'm going to make a little incision on the skin of the plantain, and I'm going to peel it simply with my hands. It should be very simple to peel, especially since these are already ripe. Now to fry our plantains up, I'm going to put my oil at a medium first to get it hot, but then I'm gonna lower it down to a medium low, just because ripe plantains will burn fairly quickly. And then I'm going to cook each side for about 1.5 minutes. Then I'm going to turn it to the next side. Then you're going to see after 1.5 minutes goes by, I'm gonna turn it over again. I want them to have this bright golden brown. And then I'm gonna keep turning it. I repeated this step maybe like 2 or 3 times, only about 1.5 minutes each. I don't want it to get burned like I said. I simply want them to get nice and golden, and I want it to get cooked in the inside so that it becomes very soft. Once that they are done, this is how they would look like when they come out. I personally like to let mine sit and cool off just because I like my little fingertips and I don't like to handle them when they're really hot. My hands really don't withstand heat very well. So I simply let them cool off, and as they're cooling off, I'm going to go over and I am going to be making my arroz con gandules. I love to eat this with a yellow rice, and arroz con gandules is my favorite to mix with this. If you would love to see how is it that I make my arroz con gandules, please go ahead and check on the link above. It is a very quick and easy recipe on how to make a nice, delicious Puerto Rican classic. All right, now I have my rice cooking. It's time for us to assemble these. These are nice and cool now. I can actually handle them without losing any fingerprints. And ooh, let me see. The picadillo came out perfect. Didn't need any extra seasoning or anything like that. We're going to begin by making an incision in the plantain with the tip of your knife. Be careful not to cut all the way through. I'd say I cut maybe 3/4 of the way down. Then I'm going to use a knife and I'm going to, with my fingers, pry it open and kind of squish it down to make it in the shape of a canoe. You can also use the back of a spoon if you would like to. Once we're done with that step, then it's time to go ahead and stuff them with our meat. We're gonna take our picadillo and we're going to be putting them inside the plantains. Stuff them as much as you can or as much as you want. Whatever left over you have in here of this picadillo, you can use this for the filling of empanadas, or you can also eat it along with the side, like a side for rice or something like that. Once our meat is there, I simply just like to glaze a little bit of the egg on the top of it, and I'm going to place my cheese all over. I'm going to be very generous because I love the cheesy part. Once these are done, we are going to go ahead and place it in the oven at 350 degrees for about 30 minutes. They spent 30 minutes cooking in the oven. This is how mine turned out. Look how delicious they look. That cheese is melted over the top. It just looks amazing. Now comes my favorite part. All right, friends, our canoes, our stuffed sweet plantains, our canoas are ready to be enjoyed. So let's go ahead and give it a try. And I am pairing mine like you saw with my arroz con gandules. If you want to see how I make them, make sure to go ahead and check on my video. And let's see how this deliciousness came out. Doesn't it look so good? So excited. Okay, let's begin. It is so good. It is so good. It's like the perfect combination between, oh my goodness, it's sweet and salty. You need to make this. It is so good. The same flavors in a pastelón. The only difference is in the shape of a canoe. Now it's your turn to go ahead and give it a try, and please make sure to let me know in the comments below, how did it turn out? Any type of changes that you made, I would love to hear about it. I love hearing how is it that it turns out on your side. So over here, it turned out great. If you decide to go ahead and give this a try, make sure to let me know below how yours turned out. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye!